A very good day to Dr. Kwa and my fellow friends. We are from Tutorial 3, Group 4. Today, we would like to discuss some questions in Chapter 4, the Management Environment. Before we start, I would like to introduce myself and my team members. My team consists with 7 members, including me. I am Qin Jiahui, and my team members are Ilitar Nur Rabiatul Iza, Lau Minsi, Chia Yiling, Nur Fatini, Lim Junhe, and Nur Ashura. Today we would like to discuss 5 discussion questions from Chapter 4 and 5 questions regarding to a case application with a topic Organizational Culture, Organizational Values and Leaders' Influence on Culture in Uber Technologies. And now I would like to pass the presentation to my member, Junhe.
Question 4.1. How much impact do managers actually have on an organization's success or failure? In my opinion, how much impact do managers actually have on an organization's success or failure depends on management theory. Management theory proposes two perspectives in answering the questions, the omnipotent view and the symbolic view. In omnipotent view of management, managers are directly responsible for an organization's success or failure. Differences in performance are due to decisions and actions of managers. Good managers will anticipate change, exploit opportunities, correct poor performance, and lead their organizations. When managers are able to gain profits, they will get the credits and rewards. But if they lead their organization to a disadvantage, managers often get fired as they are accountable for poor performance. However, in symbolic view of management, managers' ability to affect performance outcome is constrained by external factors. Managers don't have a significant effect on organization performance. Performance is influenced by factors over which managers have little control, no matter in economy, customers, governmental policies, or competitors' actions. Managers symbolize control and influence by developing plans, making decisions, and engaging in other managerial activities to make sense out of random, confusing, and ambiguous situations, and their part in organizational success or failure is limited. Managers are neither all powerful nor powerless in reality. However, their choice and actions are limited. Internal restrictions are imposed by the government's culture, whereas external constraints are imposed by organization's external environment.
Hi, I'm Ashura. Okay, the next question is, why do managers need an understanding of what happens outside their organizations? Give examples of how changes in the external environment can affect their job. Okay, so the answer is to understand how competition affects their business. Managers must be aware of and understand the competition in their business sector. This is because their competitors are seeking to gain market share at their expense. For example, managers must look for ways to increase their business market share. Knowledge of what the competition is doing in terms of sales promotion, product mix, general pricing, customer service initiative, and communication skills. Okay, so next is to understand how government regulations affect their business. Laws of the land affect business, and managers must be aware of how these laws affect their operations, which is the increasing environmental legislation that affect companies. And furthermore, business must understand how government regulations affect their bottom line, that is profits, as there is always a cost to putting into place policies and procedures required to adapt to government laws and regulations. Third is to understand the labor. Managers must understand what skill their labor is available to help them run their business properly. They must know what their competition is willing to pay qualified personnel, and they must be ready to do the same so they can attract first-rate candidates to their enterprise. Managers must be aware of college and university programs that can training suitable candidates to populate their business. They must aggressively recruit from these colleges and universities, or else their competitors will beat them to the punch and have an edge when it comes to knowledgeable and business-savvy employees. Okay, thank you.
So the next question is, how has the change economy affected what managers do?
Find 2 or 3 examples in current business periodicals of activities and practices that organizations are using and discuss them in light of the changed environment. Changes in economy or economic change is one of the external factors that will affect the organization. So what are the factors, example of factors that will change the economy? First is economic system, then we have economic policies, supply and demand, and last but not least is technological problem. Hence, how these factors could affect what managers do. So I will discuss about it in the next slide. Aspects that will be affected during the economic change. First is marketing strategies, second is staff management, and third is innovative practices. So the first one, marketing strategies. How does the economic change go affect what managers do in marketing strategies? Managers may need to conduct new market research, and managers need to focus on existing customer. So conducting new market research. So we know that research is an essential part of marketing strategies. Making regular research can develop a strong marketing strategies. So market research can actually help the managers to identify any information of the business that could be updated or changed. Next is focus on existing customer. So we know that majority of the business profits came from the existing customer. The cost of retaining customers are much more lower than the cost of attracting new customer. So keeping the existing customer satisfied will benefit the company in the long run, as they will leaving positive reviews, and they will recommend our business to their friends too. Next is staff management. So how does the economy go affect what managers do in staff management? So managers may need to hire smartly during recession and make sure that they hire the right person. So the human resource manager needs to hire the talent that are really qualified in their fields itself, and they also need to ensure the right person is being hired. Last but not least is innovative practices. So we know that developing innovative practices could help to adapt with the changes in market condition, and it occurs in many aspects such as service innovation, process innovation, and even marketing innovation. So managers need to do some innovation according to the current situation.
Now, let us discuss the current business periodicals of activity and practice. Here have 2 examples. First is turn digitization into advantage. Second, business expansions. First, turn digitization into advantage. Before COVID, some of the firms source and manage labor have devised and implement a strategy for it. They transit from physical store to online store. What they change is more concentrated with the securing device and service. For example, Malaysia bookstore chain MPH is closing multiple stores as it moves to a digital-driven omnichannel business model.
So the next one is business expansion. There are many ways that the company can expand their business, such as opening business in another location, adding sales employees, and last but not least is offer new service products. And now I will be focusing on offer new service and products. Now let's take a look at the example. So during the COVID-19 pandemic, it has caused a change in economy and brought a huge impact on airline sector. For example, AirAsia. AirAsia's share price has fallen to 65% and a net loss of 93 million ringgit compared to the net profit, which is only 17.3 million ringgit Malaysia during the COVID-19 pandemic. So how do they overcome the crisis? So AirAsia overcome the crisis by adding and expanding their services. So we know that at first, AirAsia only provide flight ticket service. But after the pandemic, AirAsia has added and expanded their services such as fast food chain, cross-order parcel delivery or online shopping, and last but not least is financial service business or Big Pay. So this shows that AirAsia did the right thing to ensure their business is still ongoing by adding new services to the customers. Tan Sri Dr. Anthony Francis Fernandez once said, Asia does not merely bring the flight service but also hotels, activities, lifestyle, e-commerce, and more.
Thank you, Iza and Minsi. Me, as a fifth presenter, will explain about why it is important for managers to pay attention to demographic trends and shifts. Before we go through the question, let us understand the meaning of demographic trends, and demographic shift. Demographic refer to distinct characteristics of a population, for example, age, gender, ethnicity, income level, and so on. Moreover, demographic trends can be defined as any measurable change in the characteristic of a population over time. How about demographic shift? Demographic shift can be defined as historical transition from high birth rates and high death rates in societies with minimal technology to low birth rates and low death rates in societies with advanced technology. This situation will lead to population aging. So, in a conclusion, demographic trends and demographic shift is related to each other. So now, it is the time for me to interpret the question given. Why demographic trends and shifts are important to managers? This is because this data enable the managers to identify the segmented groups that are most likely to purchase companies' products and services. By paying attention to demographic trends and shifts, the managers just need to show relevant messages to the people who are truly care instead of going after the entire market. As a result, the managers will be able to spend the marketing budget more efficiently. In addition, demographic trends and shifts also helping the managers to determine where to place the advertisement for maximum return on investment. Every advertisements are very crucial to the manager's marketing plan. If the advertisements are not relevant to the targeting groups, the profit of the company will be decreased. Therefore, the managers must always pay attention to demographic trends and shifts to decide whether the advertisement should be focused on women or men, older or younger customers, Malay ethnic or Chinese ethnic, and so on. Furthermore, demographic trends and shifts also can help the managers to plan strategically for future trends in consumer demand. By knowing the demographic trends and shifts from time to time, the managers can easily predict the consumer demand in the near future. For example, since the population of women keeps increasing, Gucci will produce as much as women bags and clothing in order to satisfy the needs and wants of female customers. Last but not least, demographic trends and shifts also helping the managers to be more aware of population aging. It is very important for the managers to get ready for an aging workforce so they can find the solutions to deal with it. For instance, a manager has to create expectations for all the employees to prevent age issue. So that's all from me. Now I will pass the floor to Fatini and Jiahui. Thank you.
Moving on to the next question, which is business operate in the external environment. Discuss whether manager experience environmental stability in their business operation. In this context, provide local example of environmental stability and environmental uncertainty. External environment. What is the external environment? External environment is a factor for situation and event outside the organization that affect its performance. Meaning of stable environment. Stable environment is when the business environment is stable, that means economy is healthy and the business can be profitable. Manager has time to monitor and respond to the change in deliberate manner. Meaning of dynamic environment. Dynamic environment is changing rapidly. Manager must react quickly and organization must be flexible to respond. Since the environment is inherently dynamic, in nature, it constantly keep changing. This keeps the manager to motivate and continuously update their knowledge and skills. This helps them to prepare for the predicted and unpredicted change in the realm of business. Okay, next is factors in environment stability. First is technological innovation. Technological innovation is where there is a high rate of technological innovation. New development constantly upset the status quo and change the nature of competitive advantage as well as determine who can keep it. As technology continues to advance, companies can benefit from this breakthrough or face challenge in competing with them. Next is change in government regulation. Change in government regulation can be an important factor affecting a competitive advantage. Change in this arena can obviously alter the competitive standing. As political officials leave office and new one replace them, the policies they implement often affect the business in relevant industry. Because of the inconsistent nature of politics, business monitor legislative bill to closely prepare for potential change. Okay, next is change in economy. The state of economic plays an important role in every aspect of daily life, from the well-being of personnel to the ability of the company to thrive. When the economy trends downwards and unemployment rises, business may have to work harder to keep their staff and change their process to continue earning revenue. Okay, next is example of stable environment. It's like the grocery industry is relatively stable. For the dynamic environment, for example, is change in government policies, change in taste and choice of the consumer, and also change in technology. In conclusion, even in the stable environment, the manager must be prepared for the rapid change to avoid failure of the enterprise.
After understanding what is environmental stability, now I'd like to provide two local examples of environment stability. Post Malaysia is the first local example of environment stability. In other words, this Malaysian local delivery company is capable and ready quickly when it's confronted with a dynamic environment. Post Malaysia began as a traditional services before expanding into financial services and supply chain solutions. Rapid technological development has brought a lot of challenges to this business due to the changing trend in customer behavior, which has shifted away from physical retail store and towards online shopping. Post Malaysia also launched a digital transformation strategy in order to restructure its business model. Handwritten consignment notes also replaced by electronic consignment notes, which the electronics and consignment notes can be made by using the websites or mobile application. The client can also print out e-consignment letter in at some locations such as post laju shops, kiosks, easy drive-through. To enhance the client experience, Post Malaysia also created a Post Malaysia's track and trace service system, which allowed the clients can track their parcel by using the system. Some of the clients also looking for the additional services, including by using the apps such as financial, wasiat, wills, and remittance. As a result, Post Malaysia is the world's second largest international express mail courier that has been succeed to transform the environment stability. The second local example of environment stability is Top Group Berhad. Top Group Berhad is the world's largest rubber group producer. Technology is a primary emphasis of the Top Group's management, which they aim to automate their manufacturing line, lower their workforce, and increase their overall efficiency and product quality in order to achieve their goals. Top Group hopes to entirely computerize all of its manufacturing and operating procedure in the near future. This is due to computerized in manufacturing has a greater productivity compared to man forces, and the production cost will be reduced. This enables Top Group Berhad can compete with other competitors against the pricing strategy. As a result, we know that Top Group is one of the companies that succeed to transform the environment stability. Next, I would like to provide a local example of environment uncertainty, which is Rayani Air. For information, environment uncertainty is the degree of change, practicability of change, and complexity in an organization's environment. Managers must react quickly, and the organizations must be flexible to respond during this period. Rayani Air set itself as a part of Malaysia's first Sharia compliant airlines, and Rayani Air made its first flight to Langkawi in 2015. However, what followed was a series of unfortunate and mercy events due to the increasing of petrol price and staff salaries. And many domestic flights were cancelled, including their flight to Kuching, Kota Kinabalu, and Langkawi. Rayani Air was then revoked of their air service license following MAFCON's decision that Rayani Air lacked financial and management capacity to continue operating as a commercial airline. The financial problem, which is unable to pay its pilots, caused the pilots to go on a strike, and the passenger were forced to reschedule their flight. The airline then apologized that they could no longer provide the refunds for the cancelled flights as a result of the investor pulling out after their air service license and air service permit was withdrawn. And the flight competitors leveraged off the airline's downfall to provide service for the passenger of Ryanair Air, in which Ryanair Air clearly found hardship in competing with them. For example, Malaysia Airlines offered the stranded passengers of Ryanair Air a chance to rebook their cancelled flights with discounted prices, and AirAsia also offered a chance to the stranded passengers to rebook their flights at 50% discount. So in conclusion, the main problem which brought the Ryanair Air to its demise is the incompetence along with the operating issues.
So now, let us go through the 5 questions for a case application. This case application focuses on organizational culture, organizational values, as well as leaders' influence on culture. In order to let everyone have a more understanding on this case application, Jiahui and Minsi will going to provide a 10-point summary.
After reading the case application, me, Qing Jiahui, and Lao Minsi would like to make a conclusion in 10-point summary. First of all, we know that Uber began by its founder, Travis Kalanick, as CEO after having an idea that hailing a cab by using a few taps on our smartphone. Second, a hidden history revealed about a toxic work culture in which staff are sometimes pitted against one another and where a blind eye is turned into infractions from the top performers. Third, Uber used Grable as a tool to identify and deny the service to certain riders whom Uber suspects of violating its term of service. Fourth, Uber accused of rap denialism by victim of India assaults due to an outrageous theory that the rap might have been a set-up by Indian rival. Fifth, Uber broke the local labor laws towards the harsh working conditions and low pay of ride-hail drivers.
Hi everyone, my name is Lao Minji. Now I will proceed to the next 5 points summary. Reports emerged that Uber knowing rented cars that were at risk of catching fire to its drivers in Singapore. Uber managers in Singapore were aware of a April 2016 record on Honda Visa SUV, but continued to rent the cars to drivers without fixing the defect. Honda recalled the car because it could catch on fire. Uber engaged in illegal spying in drivers. A Uber security described that the formation of separate internal teams worked occasionally impersonate drivers to gain access to chat groups, recorded phone calls, and securely wiretap entire executives at drivers' companies. Next, security shakeup at Uber. In 2014, Uber was the victim of a data breach in which a cyber criminal accessed over 10,000 individuals' personal information on a cloud-based data warehouse. Next, Mr. Kalani stepped down in a letter after the shareholders' reward made it untenable for him to stay on a company. After months of trying to cope with all of the issue and not getting anywhere, some of the firm's biggest investors eventually forced out Kalanick. It was felt that a change in leadership would provide Uber with the opportunity to refocus and recreate a new culture. Last but not least, the board's new choice for a CEO was Dara Khosrow-Shahi, Expedia CEO. The new CEO faced a lot of challenge in making change in the company, and Uber may have a new organization culture in the smoother ways. And the internal sources say the new CEO is totally different from the previous CEO, which is Mr. Kalanick. That's all for me. Thank you.
For this question, question is about what role does a CEO play in an organization's culture. Whether they do it on purpose or not, CEO plays a key role in building company's culture. Despite the fact that the CEO is a single person, their influence on the culture can be profound. Changes they make, regulations they develop, and behaviors they model all have an impact on how others behave in the organization. And culture is fundamentally behavior. CEO must be purposeful about their behaviors to ensure that they support the corporate culture, from expressing the big picture goal to ensuring organizational values are visible in the day-to-day minutiae. Organizational values influence people's decisions and ultimately the company's trajectory. The CEO's role is to define these values clearly and ensure that they are embodied throughout the organization. Every company has its own set of values, and it is up to CEOs to instill them in every employee. CEO must project an image of what the organization should be and what its values are, and usually reflects the vision or mission of founders. Next, what role do other leaders or managers play, and what role should they play? Leaders and managers are playing an important role in organizations' culture because of the leadership. The importance of leadership culture in the development of organizations' culture cannot be underestimated. Leaders and managers should be responsible to build a winning workplace culture with 4 characteristics. Firstly, a positive work environment which makes employees feel cared for and valued. Secondly, an employee selection process with focus on selecting the right employees. Thirdly, an employee engagement program based on training managers. And the last will be a strengths-based workplace which continually reinforces employees' strengths. The way leaders engage with one another and their team members is referred to as leadership culture. It's how leaders communicate, act, and make decisions. It's also about their daily work environment, including their activities, interactions, attitudes, and values. After that, leaders must recognize their role in building the culture of their organizations. An organization must make their deliberate efforts to develop their leaders or managers. Effective leadership development extends beyond training sessions, organizational structure expansions, and establishing the correct culture fit when hiring new leaders. Managers should teach organizational culture through social interactions. Through their own actions, leaders show employees what behavior is accepted and encouraged. How leadership affects organizational culture includes defines and teach the core values, promotes a culture of recognition, encourages a shared vision, and improves job satisfaction. Next, leaders must be role models who exhibit behaviors that are consistent with the company's value. Effective leaders show their staff how to fully embrace workplace ideals by demonstrating what activities they should take. It is responsibility of a leader to translate an organizational missions into tangible results.
Okay, so the next question is describe Uber's culture under its founder. First of all, Travis Kalanick created a toxic culture which is unfair to the Uber staff, especially to women staff. He allowed no room for relationships and teamwork. Rather, he was focused completely on achieve growth, image, profits, and revenue targets. He allowed room for sexism and criticism. He shouted a homophobic slur at a subordinate during a heated confrontation in a meeting, and he turning a blind eye and pouring oil on troubled waters, pursuing the so-called high performers. He criticized competitors in a race. He used inappropriate means to obtain the customer's personal record, and no manners in being a manager, being a worker in organize his organization. Okay, so next I pass to my teammates. Thank you.
So which view of management do you see played out here, the omnipotent or the symbolic? Explain. The view of management that I can see here is the omnipotent view. So omnipotent view is when the manager is directly responsible for the success or failure of the organization, and he has the total control over the operation and mission. So these four are the proof that it is omnipotent. The first one is ignore the abuse that happened in the company. So based on Susan Fowler's blog, the manager in Uber ignored the abuse that happened, and it is a toxic environment for the women workers. An abusive work environment can lead the abused person to feel humiliated, and it will definitely affect the work performance. The next one is antagonist style and approach. From the text itself, we get to see that the manager is an aggressive person and towards the workers. By having aggressive and antagonist manager, workers will suffer from the increased level of stress. Aggressive manager tend to make the workers to turn over the company and find a new job. The third proof is discrimination of gender. This can be shown when they are celebrating the achievement with chest bumps and push-up. The females don't have the chance to celebrate the achievement too, and this is when the discrimination happens. When the workplace discrimination widespread, the morale drops, and ultimately the company's bottom line is also being affected. Last but not least is neglect the rules. From the text itself, we get to see that the company had the reputation for ignoring the rules and laws. So failing to obey the law will lead to many consequences such as being fined, imprisonment, loss of reputation, and loss of productivity.
Question 4. What advice about organizational culture would you give the new CEO? First and foremost, I will suggest the new CEO of Uber to create an ethical culture. Ethical culture is a culture in which the shared concept of right and wrong behavior in the workplace reflects the organization's core values and influences employees' ethical decision making. The new CEO should be a role model and be visible. This is because the employees will always look up to the behavior of top management. Therefore, the managers must be a good role model so that a positive message will be provided to all the employees. Secondly, I will advise the new CEO to create a gender equality culture as well. Gender equality culture means no employees in the workplace should be privileged in rights, opportunities, and benefits just because they are born as male or female. A toxic work culture that hostile to women should be abolished. All the employees, regardless of male or female, should be given the same treatment. The last advice that I want to give to the new CEO is creating a customer responsive culture. Customer responsive culture is an organizational culture that focuses on responding to the needs of customers. The new CEO should be always concerned to the passengers' needs and wants as well as giving them the best services. For example, all the passengers, especially women, want to be safe and comfortable when riding the Uber. So the new CEO must ensure that all the cars that lead to the driver are safe. And the CEO also need to make sure that the driver itself is totally fine and integrity.
Okay, for the last question, from an ethic perspective, what part of the situation disturbed you the most? What career advice, as far as ethical behavior, could you take away from this story? Okay, an ethical perspective is the lens an individual use to view a problem. Each person has such a perspective, whether or not they realize it. Ethical in business means building a company around integrity and trust as well as complying with regulation. Part of the situation that disturbed me the most when it comes to toxic work culture in which staff are sometimes pitted against one another. Advice I could give is look into employee concern. A toxic work environment can grow from a lack of attention given to employee concern. Look into conducting a brief engagement that focuses on specific areas of improvement. Next is increase recognition and reward programs. If your hardworking employees aren't perceiving any benefit from their output in the form of company-wide recognition or advancement opportunities, a toxic or dysfunctional work environment might take hold. Look to reward your superstar employee with a rise in salary, additional benefit, or specific bonus. Employees are more motivated to do outstanding work if they know the company will formally acknowledge and reward those efforts. Lastly, offer support for an overworked staff. Whether it's from employees leaving, company layoff, or simply unrealistic workflows, workers may feel the stress of heavy workloads when they may already have more than enough on their plates. An atmosphere in which people feel steadily drained of energy or a sense of achievement can contribute to a stressful work environment. It's a better strategy to take an active role seeking out and correcting unethical behaviors as early as possible. Lack of ethics in company will become public knowledge that business will lose their credibility. Okay, this is all the reference that our group use. Okay, that is all from us. Thank you very much.